If you're a working mom looking around at how fast careers are changing, especially with AI, and you're wondering, how do I stay relevant without burning out? This episode is for you. Today, I'm talking with future of work strategist Sandra Price, and we're breaking down what women need to know right now to stay competitive, keep growing, and lead with clarity, no matter how quickly the world evolves. Let's dive in. Hey, Mama, welcome to Career Growth for Working Moms. If you're stuck in a job that doesn't fit or burning out trying to do it all, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, a career coach and fellow working mom. Here, you'll get simple career strategies and strength based leadership tips to help you grow with clarity and confidence. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time, and let's do this. Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have Sandra Price with me today. And I'm thrilled about this conversation because we're going to be talking about being confident, relevant, resilient in a world that's changing faster than ever, especially for working moms navigating ambitious careers. Sandra is a future of work strategist and executive level career expert who has spent the last 15 years helping professionals at companies like Google, Meta, and Microsoft make strategic career moves, adapt to change, and lead with clarity. She brings deep insight into how the workplace is evolving, what leaders need to thrive in the age of AI, and how women can advance environments that don't always make it easy. We're going to talk about the trends, the realities of modern leadership, and mindset shifts that help women rise all without burnout. Sonja, welcome to the show.
Hey, Shannon, thank you so much for having me.
So, today, careers are shifting so quickly. So, from your perspective, what are the biggest changes working moms need to be aware of as they are advancing, as they advance?
Yeah. I mean, we're in the midst of the biggest workplace transformation since the Industrial Revolution. Most of this is brought on by AI. We also have some economic challenges. And so, the biggest thing right now is that in the past, specialists used to really get a lot of the credit, and now we're moving more into the era of the generalist. So for folks who have, what width and breadth in terms of your skill set, I think that is going to become, much more high in demand than it has in the past. And if you're a specialist, great, maintain your areas of specialty, but also think about how can you broaden your skill set? Because now that we have AI and so many helpful technology tools, it's going to become more of the world for strategists. The more of a strategist that you can be, and the more that you can use different AI tools and start to sync them up together, that's really the direction of the workplace and where we're all headed.
So, speaking of AI, I think a lot of people are feeling pressure to like get experience with it, but there's a lot of anxiety that goes along with it. What do you think that these working women actually need to pay attention to when it comes to AI?
I would say, I mean, find ways to use the AI so it can free up your time. And, all of the repetitive tasks that you do on a regular basis, find the right AI tool that can help you simplify things and puts you in a position where really now you're being more of a strategist and thinking through what are the right prompts to be asking various different tools, and how do you use the outputs to make smarter decisions. And then what can you do to simplify implementation moving forward? So it's a little bit difficult to talk about if we don't know exactly, what functional focus that a professional is in. But if you're in data and analytics, there's going to be specific tools for that. If you're
Right.
no matter where you are, if you're in finance, there's specific AI tools for that. And as we progress, more and more and more tools are coming online. So it's changing all the time. But I would say be aware of what's happening. um, don't feel like you need to spend all of your time learning it because it is changing so fast. But be aware of what's out there and play with the tools so that you understand what it can do for you. And then when you find a good tool that can really help you, then it makes sense to do more of a deep dive. But do it in a way that is going to simplify your life versus complicate it.
I like that. Yes, because I
Mm.
mean, it's great at helping you meal plan, but at home,
Mhm.
that's one of the ways. But I think it's great. So, would you be able to use AI? I guess going on to that, like using AI to help advance your career. How could
Mm.
you? How do you do that?
Oh, absolutely. So no matter what LLM that you use, I mostly use ChatGPT, but that's just because I have the paid version of that and I like that one. But I have been experimenting with other ones as well. So again, simplify your life. Choose one LLM, go with it. And you can actually use ChatGPT as a very helpful career coach these days. I've been doing it for myself. So, and what are all the ways that you can use it? You can use it to help update your resume. Be a little bit careful with that because a lot of the ATS systems are now recognizing if a resume has AI generated content on it. So be careful with that. But if you need help updating your bullets and thinking through what success metrics that you have and how can you promote and position yourself in better ways, you can use it from that perspective. I use it for a lot of research. So if you're looking to up level your career and you want to go after new organizations, think strategically about what's the next right fit for you, in terms of where else would you want to go in your career, is there a specific job title that you might want to pursue? You can start to ask questions. Hey, I've got these types of skill sets. What might be the next step for me? And it'll actually build out an entire career plan for you. Now,
Yeah.
it may not be that good, so you have to know the right prompts to put
Right.
into it. And sometimes it's that like continuous questioning, question and answer until you really get to what you want. But also, I've been using it to do market research to know what kinds of target organizations that my clients would like to go after, right? So
Mhm.
where do you want to go to, and where is the market headed? Because I think the thing that we all need to be thinking about and quite honestly concerned about is, does your current career have the longevity that is needed to last these huge transformations that are happening in the workforce right now? Certain organizations are going to have more layoffs than others. So where in the market is well positioned to actually be innovative and have higher levels of success through this transformation versus the flip side, which is what we're seeing in a lot of spaces where, there's significant reductions in workforce. So, make sure that what you're doing in your career, both in terms of your functional area of focus, the level and title of your focus, and the industry and the organizations that you work for, make sure that how you're positioning yourself is going to give you that longevity and, be able to weather the storms that we're currently seeing. It's already
Right.
happening right now in big, big numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of career, what are some of the common traps or misconceptions that you are finding that women have in mid career?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, well, we know that it can oftentimes it can be challenging to step up into your first level manager role. So making sure that you're gaining the right skill set and experience to be able to effectively make that leap. And then of course, like, up leveling from there into senior manager, director, and then up into VP and C-suite if you desire, right? So
Right.
I think the big thing that women should really be asking themselves is, what are your career goals and how does that work with your family life? And what's most important to you? And then, and you don't have to pick one over the other, but if we're trying to simplify our lives, we have to figure out what really truly is important, and how can you do both in a way that you will be set up for the long haul as well. So sometimes what I see happen is, women will take time off to be with their kids, which is great and should definitely do that if you want. But think about how much time that you take off and what that might, what kind of positioning does that put you in for your career moving forward? And how can you maintain relevancy? Um,
Yeah.
and then, if you do have desires to further your career, think about what are the potential career tracks that you could go down. Not everybody enjoys management. We always think like, okay, if I want to advance my career, I should get into leadership. But not
Right.
everybody actually loves leadership. I mean, I think there's kind of a status symbol that comes along with that, but it's a lot of work. And then all of a sudden you're in charge of people, and there's a higher level of responsibility, and you have to do performance reviews. And if there's a low performing employee, You have to put them on a performance plan and sometimes manage them out of the organization. And that's not always the funnest type of work to do. But if you're a natural coach and mentor and you like to help grow and develop people, then yeah, maybe leadership is a good track. If you don't want to go that route, you can become more of a specialist or think about, like we talked about being a generalist before, maybe it's a matter of getting experience across several different areas of the organization so that you have greater breadth and then can start to, pull different pieces together and make smarter decisions or know how AI is working in different areas of the business and then which areas of the business do you want to focus on more to give you that longevity.
I love that. Well, and with our audience, these working moms, burnout is a pretty big theme for them. So, in your
Mm-hmm.
experience, what have you seen that can help these women regain their confidence and momentum and not live in that burnout?
Yeah, I mean, burnout is an epidemic. I feel like everyone that I talk to is saying, I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, I'm frustrated. So, I think that it is more of a systemic problem. Like I think it's the way that our workplaces have been designed and the expectations that are on demand for each of us. But, some things that you can really think about is make sure that are you doing the right work? Are you doing smart work? Are you working on the things that are going to, help you continuously move forward? And I think oftentimes professionals just think heads down. I just got to get this project done. Don't forget about networking. Don't forget about building relationships across the organization because that can also, ensure that you have longevity and and sometimes that means doing smart work. Sometimes you're taking on things that you don't necessarily need to be the one doing it. So I think you should always be asking yourself, why am I doing this, right? And I think women, and sometimes moms in particular, can tend to be more people pleasers. And it's like,
Yes.
okay, there's a team of people, we're all gathered here for a meeting, and something needs to be done. That's fine, I'll do it, and just jump in and do something when maybe it's not your work to do. So I would think very strategically about everything that you have going on in your life and say, is that my work to do? Is that my work to do? Is that my work to do? And where can I enroll help? Right. And
Yes.
you can do that
Yes.
across your
Delegate.
entire life. So are there
Hmm.
things at work that maybe you can enroll someone else to help with? Completing a report or taking the next revision on a presentation or whatever it is, right? It's like, how can you do better collaboration, more teamwork to get things done in a way that it doesn't all have to fall on your shoulders. Same thing at home, right? How can you
Yep.
enroll your partner and your kids to take on some of the brunt of the work of the things that you're doing that, oftentimes it's the thankless tasks that it's like, oh, well, mom does that because mom will do that because mom always does that.
Right.
But, can you engage with the people around you in a more efficient and meaningful way to help them take on some of the work so you're just not always exhausted and always burnt out. So think
Yeah.
think strategically and ask yourself those core questions like, is this something that is mine and mine only to do, or how can
Right.
I leverage, how can I do smarter work, and are there collaboration
Yes.
possibilities here, and who can I enroll to help with this?
I love that. I love that because I'm a believer that you can't do it all and that you need to allow someone else who has maybe enjoys doing something that you're taking on that you don't enjoy. They may enjoy it and therefore they would do it better than you would do it. And so by enrolling them, like you said, maybe that's going to give them a little bit more joy, even if it's at work and or at home.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And think about how you can approach it in a leader or mentor type capacity, right?
right.
So when you're enrolling someone, that's the key. How do you enroll someone, right? Because I think as a
Hmm.
mom, it's just much easier to be like, do it because I told you to do it, because I said
Right.
so. But
Right.
it's like what's in it for them and how can they be motivated to help support with projects around home or at work if you have colleagues. And sometimes it's like we're working with a lot of people cross-functionally, so you don't necessarily have authority. You have to be more in an influencer role. So
Right.
learning influence types of skills is definitely a key to being successful in this world, is how can you influence and enroll people to help support you? And really it's like, what's in it for them and what will motivate them to help and be a part of the cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sonja, where's the best place for listeners to connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can look me up by my name, Sonja, Sonjaprice, on LinkedIn, and or please come visit my website. And I actually have, something I would love for everyone to take a look at. If you just go to infiniteleaders.vip, I can help you look at where are you at in your career roadmap right now? What might be next for you? And how do you start to plan out what the world of work looks like for you and what's next?
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, I love to leave my listeners with one powerful takeaway. So, what's a bold step a working mom can take this week to feel more confident and in control of her career, no matter what changes are happening around her?
Mm. You know, I think that probably all of us fall short on celebrating our own wins. So, where in your life can you take a look, at work? What are the greatest results that you're producing right now? And how can you sing your own praises? And you can either do that just for yourself, or more ideally, how can you get better about showcasing your results with others so that they know who you are, the type of impact that you have, and what you're fully capable of? Because the more that people know the results that you produce and what you're capable of, then likely the more opportunities are going to come your way. And most of us fall short of doing this because we think, oh, I don't want to sound arrogant, or I don't want people to think that I'm too high on my own horse, But
Right.
but I think that there are effective ways to be able to showcase what you're doing, because most people are really busy and they don't pay attention to what every single person is doing. So they kind of need to be reminded of how amazing that you are, and
Yes,
why new opportunities should come your way.
absolutely. I love that advice. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Shannon. It was really fun.
Hey, Working Mama, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share it with a friend who's stuck in her career but doesn't want to sacrifice her family to grow? Also, please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It seriously lights me up to know this show is helping you navigate burnout, find clarity, and lead with confidence. All right, time to shut down my laptop and pretend I'm not hiding from folding that laundry. I'll meet you back here soon for another episode of Career Growth for Working Moms. You've got this.